In this video, we want to talk about a disease that kills 59,000 people each year. Rabies can enter the human body in many ways, from a tiny scratch, animal bites that have rabies, from your eyes, and saliva. You might not believe it, but between the millions of people that got rabies and died, only 6 people survived. And these 6 people were extremely lucky. And that case is very rare for other people. In the statistics, they don't even count these 6 people that survive. And that is why when an animal or a human gets rabies, it has a 100% fatality rate. It has been thousands of years that rabies has killed animals and humans. So does that mean if a rabid animal bites a human or saliva gets in our mouth, are we basically done? No, it's not that simple. When the virus enters the body, it doesn't have any power. And that is why it takes between 1 to 3 months for the virus to activate. It's good to know that more than 90% of rabies cases is because of animal bites. Animals that have rabies, and they will die soon too. But let's see someone that has this virus in their body and it has activated. Fever, headache, and different body parts falling asleep is the first sign that rabies has activated in a human body. But the virus has not gotten to the human brain yet. When the virus reaches the brain, it basically messes up brain activity and causes neurons to misfire. When the virus is in the brain, there is a lot of different things going on. They can't sleep, they're filled with stress and extreme fear, and they also hallucinate. This is the case for 80% of the people that get rabies, but the other 20% get paralyzed and fall into a coma. But one thing in common is that the mouth starts foaming, they can't swallow, and whenever they see water, they get terrified. 100% of the people that get rabies will die. And just like we said, the 6 people don't really count. So how did they die? When a person is in a coma, the foam could fill up in their neck and basically stop them from breathing and suffocate them. But in most cases, the rabies damages the brain so bad that it basically causes it to shut down. In most cases, it's a dog type of animal that has rabies. Animals like wolves, fox, jackals, and many more. Even squirrels and raccoons can carry rabies. They have to have rabies. If it doesn't, it's very obvious. When an animal has rabies, it's very obvious, and the most obvious thing is that they're very aggressive and they want to attack everybody. Bats can also give you rabies as well, but it's much more rarer than different dogs, and we talked about it in vampire bats. It's not only the vampire bats that can give you rabies, it's any type of bat. And that is why they always say, if a bat bites you, you have to go to the doctor to make sure you don't get rabies. And since they don't know the bat or they can't test if it has rabies, they have to give you rabies vaccine unless they know where the bat is, and then they can test to see if it has rabies or not. And if the bat is alive after 1 week, that means it didn't have rabies. Ancient doctors had a lot to say about rabies, and they had the wrong ideas about dogs. And they would believe that any dog that bites any human, they're pretty much dead, because they believed that the virus was in every dog's mouth, and that's not the case. If a human that has rabies bites someone, they can give you rabies. Just imagine a dog. In ancient Greece, to fix rabies, they did a lot of weird things. Like one of the ideas they had is that the virus lives on the tongue of the person, and that is why they would cut the tongue off of a rabid person, and unfortunately, it wouldn't do anything. They would just make their death much more painful. When we get to ancient Rome, there was a physician by the name of Arnus Cornelius Celsus, and he gave an idea on how to fix rabies. His idea was the best way to get rid of rabies is to take the person next to a swamp and throw him in. And if he survives, he's fixed. But if he drowns, then you don't have to worry about him anymore. When we get to the Middle Ages, religion is the most important thing in people's lives. And that is why the religious people gave an idea on how to fix a rabid person. Their idea was to take a very hot cross and burn it into the area that the bite took place. In this way, we can cure this disease and help the person. They would even burn this hot cross on different dogs. Dogs that did not have rabies. They believed that with this, the dog is safe forever and they will never have rabies. There are a lot of weird and different beliefs all over the world. Like in some parts of India, there are religious groups that say if a rabid animal bites anyone, they basically plant a seed of their young inside your stomach and you can't do anything about it but basically die. And that is why the people in these areas never try to go to a doctor and get themselves fixed. Just like we said in the beginning, 59,000 people die each year because of rabies. And you might not believe this, but 20,000 out of the 59,000 is from India. We all have to know this, that rabies has a 100% fatality rate. But that's if you let it get to the higher stages, meaning a few weeks after you get the bite. Before then, you could fix it, but after, nothing is gonna help. No hot cross, no drugs or vaccine, and not even the best doctor in the world. After these fake beliefs and religious beliefs, eventually in the year 1887, Louis Pasteur discovers the rabies disease, and they realize that this is caused by a virus. When Pasteur realized that this was a virus, he tried to figure out the vaccine to it. And that is why in his laboratory, he had different rabbits and monkeys. And he tries to inject rabies into them. And each time, he lowers the dosage of the virus. He realizes that the monkey that had rabies, he's starting to feel better. But he really did not want to test it on a human yet. Eventually, in the year 1885, a 9-year-old by the name of Joseph Meister gets bit by a rabid dog. The child's father knew Louis Pasteur and what he's working on, and that is why he asked him to help his son. And Louis Pasteur tested the vaccine for the very first time, and he actually helped him. Right now, nobody in the world should die because of rabies, because this vaccine is everywhere. But the 59,000 people that die each year, they're in very poor areas of the world. And those parts of India that for religious reasons, they don't want to go to a doctor. Rabies has 4 vaccines, and they have to inject them in a span of 1 month. The 4 vaccine helps the body before the virus gets powerful to fight it off and kill it. This vaccine is actually very expensive, and each of them could cost about $108. And in different countries, the government pays for it and has it available. But in poor areas like most of Africa, the vaccine is not available. It's important to know this disease because in the year 2004 in the state of Wisconsin, a 15-year-old girl gets bit by a bat. But her parents didn't know about rabies and how bats can carry them. They just put a bandage on the cut and let it go. And unfortunately, after 3 weeks, the girl gets rabies and you really can't do much about it. If you get bit by any type of animal, you have to tell the doctor, unless you know that animal or know where the animal is located. If they have rabies, they will die soon. If they're alive, they will come from the hospital and test that animal. And if they don't have rabies, they're not going to give you the vaccine anymore. 90% of the people that die from rabies are mostly in Africa and India. And most of the reason they die is that they don't even know what they're dealing with. Another interesting thing is that there's 4 locations in the world that have no rabies anymore. One is Australia, second is Mexico, third is Japan, and fourth are some parts of Europe. Like in the United States, dogs don't have rabies. First of all, there are no stray dogs, and they all have vaccines. Rabies are in different animals, especially raccoons and squirrels. You might say that squirrels don't really bite anyone. If they have rabies, they turn extremely wild and they will bite anything in sight. I mean, look at this dog. This dog has rabies, and it's very obvious by the way it looks. If they bite anyone, they will get rabies. But when you see a stray dog anywhere, it doesn't mean they have rabies. The most obvious thing you can see from a rabid animal is saliva coming out, and they're extremely wild and they want to attack everybody. The countries that really got rid of rabies don't let stray dogs to stay around the country. I don't mean to kill stray dogs. They capture all of them, they fix them, give them the vaccines, and allow people to adopt them for a small fee. It's good to note that in different parts of Europe, they even vaccinate wild animals. So it's not just for cats and dogs. These started in the 1960s when there were a lot of foxes in Switzerland and people were scared of getting rabies, and that is why they were killing them. And that is why the government said, we're gonna vaccinate all of them and you guys should stop killing them. A lot of scientists are trying to figure out a way to basically eradicate this disease from happening, and they're not really sure on how to do that.